Today, we're getting into something really valuable for, well, anyone using English. It's all about eloquence.
Hmm. Yeah. That ability to not just speak or write, but to do it in a way that really lands.
Exactly. And we're kind of using a recent chat from the Talk Fluent podcast as our springboard here. Think of this as a shortcut to their key insights.
That's the one. The episode was called Why Eloquence Matters in English,
Yeah,
featuring Sophie and Liam. They had some great takes.
they really did. So, our mission today, let's pull apart what they meant by eloquence, why it's, so important, especially in English, and maybe get some practical ideas on how to cultivate it.
Sounds good. So maybe start with their definition. What exactly is eloquence, according to them?
Well, Liam kicked it off. He framed it as communication spoken or written that's clear, first off.
Okay. Clarity. Makes sense.
And also persuasive. It makes people think or act.
Right. And there was a third element, wasn't there?
Yes, the emotional impact. That's crucial. It's about making people feel something.
Ah, okay. So clear, persuasive, and emotionally resonant. And Liam was quite specific, wasn't he? That it's not about just using like complex jargon.
Absolutely. That was a key distinction. It's not about vocabulary gymnastics. It's about how effectively you use the words you already know.
And Sophie built on that, didn't she? Something about connection.
Yeah, she talked about it being about truly connecting with people, making them understand things on a deeper level, or just, feeling what you're saying.
That idea of connection, that
Oh,
feels really central. It's more than just transmitting data.
definitely. It's about the reception, the impact when it arrives. Now, as Sophie also mentioned a common trap people fall into.
Oh, right. The confusion between eloquence and just complexity.
Exactly that. People think sounding eloquent means packing sentences with long, sophisticated words.
Which, as you said, misses the point. Sometimes the simplest phrase, delivered well, can be incredibly eloquent. Think about famous speeches.
Totally. Those short, punchy lines that just stick in your head for years.
Yeah. It's about skillful use, not just having a huge vocabulary. Simple tools used well.
And Liam gave some concrete examples, didn't he, to make it less abstract?
He did. He mentioned Barack Obama and Martin Luther King Jr.
Two classic examples, yeah.
And the interesting thing is why they're seen as eloquent. It wasn't just vocabulary lists.
No, it was their ability to connect emotionally, right? To paint pictures with words.
Exactly. Think about Obama's rhythm. The repetition like, yes, we can, it builds something.
Uh-huh. Or King's metaphors, they weren't just words, they created feelings, images.
That's the core of it. Touching hearts, sparking ideas, leaving that lasting impression. That's what Sophie and Liam were getting at.
It's the impact, not just, linguistic flair for its own sake. Now, Sophie raised a point about learners of English specifically, how focusing on this can be a real step up.
Yeah, she framed it as moving beyond just getting the grammar right or having clear pronunciation. It's the next layer.
The difference between being, competent and being genuinely compelling.
A good speaker versus a great one, I think she said.
Right. You can tick all the grammar boxes, but if the message doesn't land with feeling or clarity, something's missing.
It's about aiming for that impact, not just technical correctness.
Yeah.
And this matters in so many practical ways. Liam brought up the professional world.
Oh, yeah. Job interviews, presentations.
Big meetings, yeah. Places where you really need your ideas to be heard and taken seriously.
And being eloquent there isn't just polish, it's effectiveness, isn't it? It's about showing your value clearly.
Absolutely. Articulating thoughts with confidence and clarity changes how people see you. It commands attention.
You just get taken more seriously. Think about even just using active voice instead of passive voice. It makes things instantly clearer, more direct.
That's a great point. Such a simple shift. But it adds to that feeling of clarity, which is a building block for eloquence.
And it's not just speaking, is it? Sophie made sure to include written communication.
Crucial point. Emails, reports, even messages or social media posts. How we write says a lot.
Definitely. Finding that balance in writing, professional but clear, maybe warm when needed, that's eloquence too.
And Liam added that writing has its own challenge because you don't have your tone of voice or body language to help.
Good point. The words have to do all the heavy lifting. No nonverbal backup.
Exactly. Every word choice, sentence structure,
Yeah.
it all carries more weight in writing. So yeah, for anyone writing a lot in English, focusing there is huge.
So if this is so important, how did Sophie and Liam suggest, getting better at it, developing this skill?
Well, Liam's first suggestion was pretty fundamental. Read. Read widely.
Immerse yourself in good language. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's about absorbing the rhythm, the flow, not just definitions, but how good writers put things together effectively. You sort of internalize it.
You develop an ear for it, almost.
Exactly. And then, of course, he mentioned practice, actually speaking.
Seems obvious, but how? What kind of practice?
Well, things like recording yourself, which can be illuminating.
Uh-huh. Hearing yourself as others do? Cringeworthy sometimes, but useful.
Definitely useful. And joining discussion groups, practicing presentations, even just talking to a mirror to build confidence.
Right. And Sophie added listening to great communicators.
Yes. TED Talks, podcasts, maybe debates. Learning by observation.
Paying attention to how they do it, how they structure things, where they pause.
Exactly. How they emphasize points, how they hold attention. You can learn so much just by listening consciously.
And Liam's final point on development, something about feedback.
Yes. Seeking feedback. Because we often think we're being clear.
But we might not be. We need that external perspective.
Absolutely. Asking people, was that clear? What landed? What didn't? That's vital for growth.
So, okay, we know what it is, how to maybe develop it. Why is it particularly important in English? Sophie touched on its global role.
Right. English is just everywhere. Business, science, academia, entertainment.
It's the global lingua franca, pretty much.
So being eloquent in English isn't just nice to have. It kind of opens doors internationally, gives you a bigger platform, potentially.
A more influential voice. And Liam linked eloquence to credibility, too, didn't he?
He did. The idea that clear, precise, impactful communication builds trust.
It makes you seem more competent, more believable.
Yeah, it gives your words weight, whether it's a pitch, a presentation, or just networking. People are more likely to trust you and your ideas.
And then Sophie brought it back to that human element again. Connection.
That emotional bridge. Eloquence allows for deeper connection, understanding, empathy. It's not just transactional.
Right. It makes communication richer, more meaningful. Okay, so before we wrap up, they also tackled some common myths or worries people might have.
Yeah, Liam addressed the idea that eloquence is only for, naturally gifted or privileged people.
Like you're either born with it or you're not.
Exactly. And he stressed, no, it's a skill. Anyone can work on it, practice it, develop it. It's not some exclusive club.
That's really important. It's learnable. And Sophie had a reassuring point, too, about not needing to be perfect.
Yes, that was great. You don't have to deliver flawless, uninterrupted speeches.
Pauses are okay. Little stumbles.
Totally okay, she argued, as long as the core message is thoughtful, sincere, and clear overall. It's about the honesty and the impact, not robotic perfection.
That takes some pressure off, doesn't
It
it?
really does. Authenticity matters.
So, bringing this all together then, what's the main takeaway from Sophie and Liam's discussion for our listeners?
I think the core message is that eloquence in English is, well, first, it's really valuable. It takes you beyond just being understood to being truly heard and felt.
Heard, felt, and remembered.
Exactly. And second, it's attainable. It's a skill you can actively cultivate through conscious effort, reading, listening, practicing, seeking feedback.
So it's not just about fixing mistakes, it's about adding this whole other layer of impact.
Precisely. It's about making your communication more effective, more persuasive, and more connecting.
Which leads us to maybe a final thought for everyone listening.
Go on.
Well, maybe take a moment this week to think. Where could a bit more eloquence, that clarity, that impact, that connection make a difference in your English communication?
Yeah. In your work, studies, personal life.
And then, as you go about your week, consciously notice it in others. When someone's communication really resonates with you, whether spoken or written, just pause and think. What are they doing?
What techniques are they using? How are they structuring their thoughts? What makes it land so well?
Exactly. And then, the really interesting part. How could you start, even in small ways, to bring some of those principles into your own way of speaking and writing?
Focusing on that clarity, that thoughtfulness, that emotional resonance, it could really shift how your interactions unfold, couldn't it?
It really could. Something to definitely mull over.